let's be honest, corporate training. We've all been there, right? It's a massive, multi-billion-dollar industry, but for so many of us, it's just a total source of dread. Today, we're going to dig into why so much of it just completely misses the mark. And we'll use one company's new approach as a kind of case study to see if there's a better way to do this. A way to get from just checking boxes to actually getting real results.
So let's just get right to it and ask the question that I'm sure we've all screamed into a pillow after some mind-numbing training session. Why is so much of this stuff such a colossal waste of time and money? Turns out, the answer is a lot deeper and more systematic than you might think.
This is where it gets really interesting. The whole problem is basically a trap, what's being called a vicious cycle of waste. Get this, learning and development teams are stuck spending a staggering 80% of their budgets just making the content. So the cycle goes like this. First, it's painfully slow. We're talking 6 to 8 hours just for one training module. Second, it's crazy expensive, costing a small team around $235,000 a year. And finally, after all that time and money, it's often totally ineffective with completion rates hovering around a dismal 40%.
And all of that brings us to what's known as the corporate training trap. It's basically this black hole where companies pour in tons of time, money, and effort, but the results just don't measure up to what people actually need to learn today.
It all boils down to these three words. The old way of doing things is slow to create, expensive to produce, and a lot of the time it's just plain ineffective. The system is just fundamentally broken.
Okay, so if the old way is so busted, what's the alternative? I mean, how do you actually break out of this cycle and do something that works?
And that brings us right to our next section, breaking the vicious cycle. We're going to flip the script now and dive into a potential solution.
So the big idea here is to completely shatter the old way by making the whole content creation process, well, effortless. We're talking about taking that build time from 6 to 8 hours down to just 10 or 15 minutes. This frees up everyone to stop worrying about building stuff and start focusing on what actually matters, the learning outcomes.
So how do they pull this off? Well, it seems to be built on three main pillars. First, an all-in-one platform that anybody can use, no coding required. Second, engagement is baked right in from the start, things like gamification, not just tacked on as an afterthought. And third, and this is huge, the ability to scale globally with just one click, translating into over 100 languages instantly.
All right, let's pop the hood and see what's actually running this thing. We're going to look at the specific tools that make this whole new approach actually work.
Okay, so what you're looking at here is kind of like the central command. It's not just one single feature, it's a whole suite of tools that are all designed to work together. So let's break down the most important parts.
Let's run through the core capabilities here. First up, you've got rapid no-code authoring. Think super fast, drag and drop simple. Then there's a native gamification engine. You know, points, badges, leaderboards, all the stuff that actually makes people want to finish. There's even an AI-powered mascot, kind of like a 24/7 learning buddy. Plus it has interactive video with branching so people can make choices in real-world scenarios. And finally, and this is crucial, real-time analytics, so you know instantly what's working and what's not.
Okay, features are great and all, but talk is cheap, right? The proof is in the numbers. So let's actually dig into the data and see what kind of impact this model really claims to have. So check this out. This is a direct head-to-head comparison with one of the big traditional tools out there. Look at the time to create a module. We're going from 4 to 8 hours down to just 10 to 15 minutes. And skills? You go from needing a team of specialists to, well, anyone can do it. And getting it out to a global team, that goes from a months-long headache to an automatic one-click process. The difference is just staggering.
So to put a fine point on it, we're talking about something that's 20 times faster, 85% cheaper to operate, and requires zero technical skill. I mean, that's not just a small improvement. That's a whole different ballgame.
And let's talk money, because that always gets people's attention. For a company making 100 training modules a year, the old way costs around $235,000. Think about that. All the specialists, the software licenses, the time. With this new approach, that cost plummets to about $40,000. That's a saving of over $195,000 every single year.
So what do you do with all that saved time and money? Well, you get better business outcomes. Take sales onboarding, for example. The old way takes forever, and every week a new salesperson isn't selling, the company is losing money.
By making the training faster and more engaging, you can cut the time it takes for them to get up to speed in half, saving the company a fortune on just a single program.
And this isn't just a one-trick pony. We're seeing these kinds of results all over the place. For boring compliance training, completion rates more than doubled from 40% to 87%. For software customers, the time it took them to get value dropped from a month to just a week. A global company saved almost 50 grand on translation costs alone. The impact is felt everywhere.
Okay, so what does this all add up to? What's the big picture here? This isn't just about one company's cool tool. It really points to a massive shift in how we think about learning at work.
You know, the whole market seems to be at this huge tipping point. We're talking about a $2 to $5 billion global e-learning market that's getting hit by what you could call a perfect storm of demand. You've got the huge shift to remote work, you've got companies squeezing every penny out of their budgets, and you have this desperate need for speed and global scale. All of this is pushing businesses to find a better way.
And this really just sums it all up, doesn't it? When you boil it all down, you're looking at a solution that's 95% faster to create, 85% cheaper to run, drives 40% higher completion, and lets you roll things out globally 50 times faster. I mean, those numbers are just wild. This is what's being set as the new standard.
And that really leaves us with one final big question. We've just seen how something as entrenched as corporate training can be totally reinvented, turning something that was slow, expensive, and frankly, pretty boring, completely on its head. So if this part of work can be so radically transformed, you have to wonder, what's next?